Well, as the Senate returns to plenary on Tuesday after a short break, pressing on the agenda for lawmakers will be how to quickly settle the principal positions. The principal officers, whether in the majority or minority, are imperative to drive the Senate agenda and its daily activities. That will include the screening and consideration of ministerial nominees expected from President Bola Tinubu. Now let's take a look at some of these happenings as well. We now joined by former House of Representatives member Dr. West Idahosa, who was a representative for Ovia West Federal Constituency. He joins me live from Benin City. Dr. West Idahosa, good to see you and thanks for your time as always. Let's quickly jump into this. It's a moment that many Nigerians would like to understand when we talk about leadership positions and how it impacts on the constituents and the overall well-being of Nigeria. First, give us a sense of what we're likely to expect as they resume.
Well, of course, you will be talking about the appointment of principal officers, which is exclusively the function of a political party which has sponsored these members. And you know that the parties also, of course, decide the basis upon which this leadership is chosen. It can be the basis of competence and seniority. It can also have to do with federal character or geographical spread. These are important components in political balance in our country. So what we expect is that the more senior members of the party who have probably serious cognate experience will get the nod ahead of those who are just coming in. And then, of course, the party will also be looking at who are the key mobilizers who understand the manifesto of the party and who are likely to galvanize party members into realizing the aspirations of the party itself. These factors come to play in the choice of leadership. It may not necessarily be the more brilliant lawmakers, but definitely the more lawmakers who understand the manifesto, comportment of members, and of course the behavioral mannerism of Parliament as an institution. This will be the parameters that will be put in place by the party, and you are likely to see that at play tomorrow.
Well, Dr. West Idahosa, you're also someone who's been able to groom and train some newbies in the area of legislative matters. When you say, because twice you use the word, you qualify, you say who understand. So first, let's talk about the understanding of key task of lawmaking before we jump back on the leadership. How do colleagues know those who are better, well-equipped in this area?
Well, of course, you have the opportunity to demonstrate your knowledge of the business of lawmaking if you are a floor general. Remember that once you have the opportunity to present yourself in plenary sessions, you have good understanding of the fabric of the country, the thematic sectors of the country, economic know-how. You have an overall knowledge of what government should be looking like with respect to your party manifesto. You will be regarded as a good debater. That's one. Secondly, once you have a good rapport with party leadership, you are seen to be very understanding. You understand the nuances of the party. You appreciate what the party is likely to be doing, and you are seen to be in strong liaison with the party. Of course, then you cultivate the confidence of the party, and they begin to think that you fall into the category that can put others together with a view of cooperating with the presidency in order to realize the party's visions and aspirations. Don't forget that once a party runs into the difficulty of getting its programs through Parliament, the punishment is always that at the polls, such party could lose elections. But there are so many newcomers in Parliament today, particularly in the House of Representatives. So they will need some time to understand the rules of the House, the rules of debating, the rules of engagement, and of course the rules of committee business. These are the key elements that help to demonstrate and define cognate experience Once a man understands what it means to manage a committee and how committees operate in terms of oversight functions, budget creation and budget consideration, budget oversight, and then above all, putting these matters across to fellow colleagues to get a buy-in on the floor of Parliament with the hope that you can get the compromises that you require to either get your motions passed or to get your bills passed. Whichever one it is, the mastery of this understanding is what is considered as cognate experience.
In other words, it falls on the level of what members, including yourself, have come to describe as ranking members.
Correct. There's ranking, and not just ranking, there's also expertise. Don't forget that there are members who have been in key committees over the years, and so they already understand the committee businesses and the sectors that they oversight, and to that extent they are able to make relevant input into the budget making and to formulate or assist in the formulation of key policies. And this is something you cannot buy in Wuse Market or any other supermarket. You have to acquire this experience. You have to be very willing to learn. You have to apply yourself. Do not forget that when you enter the plenary, you are alone. All your aides are behind. Your leaders are outside. You have to define who you are on the floor of Parliament.
It brings us to the Legislative Institute here. What function or role does it play in helping to mold these representatives of the people in gifting the country better statutes?
Well, of course, they are the basic trainers of lawmakers. They provide them the basic technique tools for making laws. They allow them to understand and explore the key areas of lawmaking, which is lawmaking itself, policy contribution and policy formulation. They also have to talk about oversight, and then above all, they also have to talk about appointments of key executive officers and how to vet them. And then you look at the other point of how they can use the budget as an instrument of national development. The Legislative Institute provides the technical know-how for that, and then helps to set the agenda by putting together personnel who, after probably a very robust seminar, come up with key points which they normally supply to various committees, principal officers, and members of Parliament. And arising from the knowledge that is passed on to the Parliament, the members themselves understand exactly what is expected of them and the skills that they require to navigate the contours of making laws for the good governance of the Nigerian people within a country that is complex and diverse.
Well, Dr. Idahosa, let's dig in deep now and pick your brain. You took a break for a moment to go into academic and your law practice. So if you were in the House today, what do you think will be happening on resumption?
Well, what will be happening on resumption will be, we'll be debating the general principles of the new administration, what we have been told arising from the speech that the President delivered in inauguration, and it may have been circulated to members by now. Arising from that speech, some key elements will have been drawn out, and floor leaders will be seeking to draw the attention of their colleagues to the key points and how they can realize it for the good of our country. Of course, presiding officers will also be setting the benchmark, trying to fashion a way which they think that this assembly should go, and that will include the fact that the assembly should put national interest above personal interest, national interest above party interest, national interest above sentiment, tribalism, and religion, because we need to keep our nation together. This will be the general remarks, and everyone will, as much as possible, will have at least a minute or less to make a general contribution. This is what I expect. And then on top of that, it is possible that the announcement of the principal officers could also be made tomorrow once the parties have reached their decision and there's no acrimony following it. That announcement should, of course, come tomorrow, and then the principal officers themselves will also be allowed to make some introductory remarks to also suggest the manner in which they expect cooperation from members in plenary and at committee levels.
The principal officers emerge. Is it the prerogative of the Speaker or the President of the Senate alone, or do they also consult with their political parties?
Well, of course, there are caucuses of the political parties, and they do meet and sometimes project certain candidates, but again, the party has very overriding influence on these matters. Party leaders can decide who gets what on the previous parameters that I have earlier elucidated. But however, the caucus of the party can also influence the party itself toward the direction of those they consider understand the best method to get the party to succeed, or their preferences, as far as their colleagues are concerned. So these dynamics will play out tomorrow. Very often, members of the party toe the line of the party leadership because they will be looking for subsequent tickets of the party to contest future elections. So you must know where to draw the line between trying to pull wool over your party's eyes and kowtowing to the party's desires. This is key, and you may see tomorrow that the list that will be announced may have been decided by the party leadership in consultation with, of course, key leaders of the party, including those in the presidency, and then influential stakeholders of the party.
Well, is it possible, politically speaking, now for a ruling party to influence who emerges as minority leader?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's their prerogative. They've done that over and over again. We have had just few reasons to disagree with our political parties who have sponsored us in the past. And it's likely now that the parties are getting stronger. For example, you've seen the election that took place. In the Senate, it may have been stiffly contested, but in the end, it went the way of the party. In the House of Rep, it was a hot knife through butter, the way it went. So it's most likely that the parties have gained momentum. Do not also forget that the president who is in office now is a very strong party man. He is a man who allows the party to function. And so the party is going to take this as an incentive to gain impetus, gather momentum, and of course, try to push their members into the direction that the party wants for the country.
And speaking of which, the political party now, the ruling party and the president, what kind of role do you think the party, in this case the ruling party, will play in the emergence of these principal officers?
Well, the party would have been discussing. I mean, the aspirants would have gone up and down trying to talk to party leaders about their aspirations. The party itself would have been talking about balance of power. They would have been looking at the regions or the geopolitical zones that may have been left out or that they need to balance more in terms of having some level of power equilibrium in Nigeria. And to that extent, the party will also be looking at rewarding outstanding members of the party from certain zones. And an outstanding member of the party will be one that have been faithfully committed to the party, being outspoken on party policies, defending the party very vigorously in terms of even unpopular decisions made by that party, explaining the party positions all the time and as all the opportunities they do get, and the party may consider them ripe for reward. And to that extent, the party may be notifying the members of their own party that they have made a decision with respect to principal offices, and the decision will then be announced to the party members at the caucus. And of course, in that caucus, the leadership of the party will appeal to members of the party to at least cooperate in implementing the decision of the party. It's likely that most party members will not undermine the political decisions of the party at a time like this, with a strong precedent, particularly for the ruling party.
Tell us, if you will, Dr. West Idahosa, are there truly juicy committees or positions in the National Assembly?
Well, a committee is as strong and juicy as its chairman, whatever they call juicy. I don't like to use the word juicy committees, but I like to use the word strong committees. Strong committees are committees that have serious grasp of national issues, have a good knowledge of the sector that they oversight, have command and respect from that sector, and they're able to push government policies with some level of tactics and efficacy. Now, it is likely that committees that oversee sectors that have serious financial muscles are regarded by the public as juicy committees. But how juicy are these committees? I was chairman of the House Committee on Petroleum Resources under President Olusegun Obasanjo. I wouldn't have considered that committee juicy. In fact, on my second term, I didn't go there again because the president was the Minister of Petroleum Resources. What were you going to say to him? What were you going to do with such a strong character? I had to navigate my way to a relatively unknown committee and then try to build some strength in that committee and use it as an opportunity to show what I can do in helping to wake up a sector that has been undermined. So I don't like using the word juicy, but there are indeed strong committees. And of course, with strong committees, there will be benefits, employment opportunities, and then the chance to get better known, and of course, a chance to also help those who have been supportive to you in your political career. No question about that. That's not corruption if the due process is followed. So I don't worry about people getting help as long as they get help from the front door legitimately and not by bending the rules.
What would you say to any member, because you're a grassroots politician and on your voluntary break, you are within your people? Why is that so comfortable for anyone who's served to still come back to the people? So this message should be for those who are serving now. What are those things as a legislator that you will do that will make you feel comfortable at home when you're done serving?
Well, in my view, from my experience, the first is visibility. Lawmakers are generally regarded by the policies that they enunciate while they are in office and the type of advocacy that they carry out in areas that are people-oriented, particularly with respect to social investments in the welfare of the Nigerian people. You must be very forceful, you must be vocal, and you must have that identity as a face of the struggle for the people. That's one. The second is, do not play with your constituency projects. Make no mistake about them. Do not be interested in the contractors who get that done. Get it done. Ensure that it is done. And ensure that people get to know that this is part of your constituency project and you work very hard to get it to reality. And then more importantly, communication with the constituents, frequent interaction and town halls with the constituents. The social media has come into play. It wasn't very strong in most parts of our tenure. But right now, it's so easy to have WhatsApp groups, to coordinate your constituency, get them basically informed, get their buy-in in those points that you want to make in Parliament, and make sure not to undermine their capacity to resist you. Otherwise, they will punish you either in the party nomination, and if you are such a strong party man, you overcome that, they wait for you in the general elections. And of course, you will understand what it means to be not very cooperative with powerful constituents.
Let's close on a personal note. Now you have your doctorate, you're also into active practice. How soon are you coming back into active politics?
Well, even now, a man is a political animal. You know, even now, I'm gradually getting involved in trying to shape what I believe should be the type of persons that can help to modernize the politics of my state. And I offer opinions, I recommend people, and gradually, who knows what the next set of elections will look like. We never can tell.
Dr. Idahosa, a delight speaking with you on Arise Prime Time.